Hello there, children. Today, we are going to work on Geometric Sequence Series. This educational experience is brought to you by me. So, special little treat, we're going to try something this time. I will teach the entire lesson in rhyme. So here are some notes. You can give them a read. Note it's geometric in green, the color of money and greed. Now here is a formula on your formula sheet. Yes, I gave you that sheet. That is so neat. Where R is what we call the common ratio, which is a good thing to be had. And again, this is on your formula sheet so you all can be glad. A is your first term. We've talked about that before. I'm not going to get into it too much. I don't want to be a bore. Now your common ratio is special. It's something brand new. So you really want to pay attention because it's new to you. So tell me if the following sequences are geometric or not. Go ahead right now and give it a shot. Now the multiplication pattern must be had through all. If it is, that's great. Then we can have a ball. So from 10 to 5, we divide by 2. And then what's next? That you can do. So the pattern holds true. That's really quite great. It's dividing by 2. There is no debate. So dividing by 2 is like multiplying by half. It's the same darn thing. Or you can write it in gold and give it some bling. Now to go from 2 to 4, it's multiplying by 2, and I do that with glee. If that pattern holds true, then I'm home free. However, from 4 to 6 is not quite the same. This doesn't work, but there's no one to blame. So you write not geometric, and that's just the end, and you buck up your chin and see what's next around the bend. So you can add a smiley face to add a little joy. Now let's click next with my little math toy. So now finding the nth term really isn't bad. You just use the formula, so don't get all mad. So the common ratio is here, and consistent it must be. And as you get better, the multiplication pattern will be easier to see. The first term is there. It has to be plain in sight. It's always the one on the left, not the one on the right. So in problems like these, my formulas can be used. If I use it correctly, it won't leave me battered and bruised. So I can start the problem with my formula in tow. All I have to do is plug in those values, and away I go. Now it's very, very important to keep this exponent with the 1 on top. If I am not super careful, that -1 will drop. And when it drops, I'll get the problem wrong, and it'll fill my eyes with tears. So what you ought to do is use a parenthesis to alleviate those fears. If that -1 drops down, I'm so sorry to say, you're never going to get the problem right. No how, no way. So you can button mash in a calculator, pounding it with rage. Or you can just be nice and tap lightly, like a wise old sage. Now when you type this in, you should get 128. If you check with your neighbors, you should leave no debate. Now the next one is fun. It has a fraction for R, but we're not going to worry like we're a kid stuck in tar. Now it's very important not to lose that -1. Because if it falls down in the problem, you most surely are done. Now, some of you will get fractions, which isn't bad at all. Your friends might not that live across the hall. That person might even get a decimal. But that's okay in my book. If they are both correct, they convert. Go ahead. Take a look. So there is this, which is the answer of 25/16. This will lose you points, and I don't mean to be mean, but the simplified version is what you want on the test, and I'm sorry to say it is simply the best. Now, it doesn't mean this answer is necessarily bad, but it will lose you points, and I don't want you to get mad. So on the test, box your answer in, and just make sure that I can see, because that way it's easier to find for little old me. Now, in a problem like this, if you want, you can go and find the rest of the answer. That you should know. For on the calculator, you can go and type the thing in, either the big calculator or the fat one, or someone quite thin. So one thing you should do with your neighbor that's near is look at their paper, but please do not leer. And so moving on, more words. Is this something I'm going to have to know? Well, yeah, it is. This isn't for show. So here's a formula for the sum. And like the arithmetic we've done in the past, it might look a little scary, but it's going to be a blast. So notice there's R from the formulas we had, except now R has an N, so the -1 is gone. Don't be so sad. The A sub 1, or the first term that's seen, is out on the side. Not being so mean. Dividing by R minus 1, which is kind of a treat, this formula will give the sum of geometrics. Most of them, which is really neat. So take all this in, write all this down, show it to your neighbors, take it around town. So we're going to practice this stuff and practice it in class. We're going to do it so much, hopefully everyone will pass, because you had to know that this wasn't quite it. But we've only got a little more, just a tiny little bit. So you'll have homework posted up on the D2Well. Homework, yay! Well, isn't that swell? You can do it at your leisure. You can do it whenever you please. Thus is then the rhyming. Go henceforth and do. Oh, happy days are here again. Commence.